Thank you, Sheena. And it's fantastic to be here. I've really already had an amazing week, and the conference is just getting started. I got here on Sunday night, and I got to go visit the Catalyst Innovation Hub just down the road here on Monday. I got to go visit folks at Keynote on Tuesday, and yesterday over to the Irish School with Martine. Colts de Ferste, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but amazing just to both see all the kids speaking Irish and having fantastic questions about AI and coding at age, whatever, 12, 13, 14. So really inspiring already and just great to be here. I really appreciate the introduction because I wanted to say some of those things right to get started, but now we got that passed. I'll just say I'm from deeplearning.ai. If you're not familiar with what we do, we build online courses. And I'll just say a little about that before we get started. As Sheena mentioned, I'm going to talk about the future of education as I see it in the context of AI. And I think there's kind of a couple different sides of this that are like sort of two sides of the same coin. So we'll be talking about the future of work and the skills that'll be in demand, as well as the future of education and how that's going to serve the need to be upskilling and training for these new skills. So now my computer doesn't want to work. Let's see. Can I advance the slide? There we go. All right, so just a word on who we are at deeplearning.ai in case you're not familiar with us. We're founded by Andrew Ng, who has, of course, made a name for himself in AI, and he's been an innovator, an entrepreneur, and also made a name for himself in education, being one of the first people to put courses online at that time when he was a Stanford professor. And so before 2012, you had to go to Stanford to learn machine learning from Andrew Ng. But after that, the courses became available online, and people all over the world suddenly had access to fantastic courses from Stanford. Essentially the same thing, not like being in person. As Sheena mentioned, it's a one-size-fits-all experience that we deliver right now. But accessibility is really the success story there. More people around the world are able to access education in that way. So we're very proud to serve millions of learners around the globe. And I did a quick check. We have about 150,000 some learners here in the UK. And we feel like the nature of online learning right now is a story of accessibility, which is great, but it's no replacement for an in-person learning experience. It's no replacement for the kind of experience you can get working directly with other humans to learn what you need to learn. And so I think my own perspective is that we'll look back in the not too distant future on online learning as it stands today and think of it as kind of like the Stone Age of online learning. I think that with generative AI, what's going to be possible in the not too distant future is really a much more personalized learning experience where it's almost like you could think about it as a one-on-one experience that you're having to learn whatever it is you want to learn, the way you want to learn it, and just the right learning journey for you. So I think that the other side of this is that technology, while it has made online learning available, it's also almost brought the requirement of being a lifelong learner with it because technology is changing fast enough that all of us need to think about how we need to learn new skills throughout a career in order to stay current, to stay relevant. And I think that that's only going to increase and that the current state of online learning doesn't afford the opportunity to keep up with that pace, but that at the same time, AI is going to allow online learning to change and to become more personalized in a way that accelerates the learning process or makes it more efficient. So first, I'd like to just say a few words about the future of work. And this is a figure that I borrowed from a McKinsey report. So McKinsey, the consulting company, that published a report last year on the future of work, the skills that'll be more in demand in the future, less in demand in the future, and the pace of automation across all human tasks right now. So what this shows is the percent of current working hours, so if you think about all the hours that humans work right now, what percentage of that will be automated in the years to come. And so this is a simplified version of a chart from that report, but basically showing from 2020 on the left to 2080 on the right, so the next 50, 60 years, what percentage of total hours worked will be automated at certain periods in the future. So you can see that by 2030, you're already up into the sort of 25% range. So one of the interesting findings from this report was that by 2030, in the next 5 years, something like 25% of all human hours worked today will be automated. And if that's just the beginning, right? This just continues up and to the right, out until 50, 60 years in the future. I think you can assume there's pretty big error bars on this curve. It's not highly certain out here 50 years in the future, but at least in the near term, it looks like tens of percent of the total human hours worked right now will be automated mainly with AI. And so this begs the question for a lot of people, is AI going to replace me? Is AI going to be doing my role sometime in the near future? And what does that mean for me as someone who's wondering about how to position myself for the future of work? And I think the short answer for most cases is probably not, but most likely people using AI in your role, or really in any role, will be replacing people who are not using AI in whatever role. And I think this applies across an organization. So from marketing and sales and HR, finance, to software engineering. So there are opportunities already to be using AI across all these roles. And as people are using these tools, they're often finding ways in which they can do the job differently, better, more productive, more efficiently. So the other thing that comes out of this report that almost feels paradoxical in the context of tens of percent of human hours being automated away is this finding that at the same time, there's going to be an increased demand, almost similar, 30%, across certain skills in tech and IT, basically from basic to advanced tech and IT skills, programming, to human skills. You can think about it like innately human skills, critical thinking, decision-making, creativity, teaching and learning. These will all see some kind of something like a 30% increase in demand in that same time period. So the way to think about this is not that certain skills will just disappear, but that certain skills will be made more efficient, and then the demand for other skills will be growing at the same time. So what does this mean for individuals, organizations, and even entire nations? So it means as an individual or as an organization thinking about how to upskill your workforce, or as a government thinking about how to ensure that the economy stays strong and that people are gainfully employable, you need to be thinking about what to focus on when it comes to upskilling. So drilling down one layer deeper into the details of the skills that are likely to be more in demand versus less in demand in the future. This is another chart from that same report. And what you're looking at is in red and pink, these bars correspond to skills that are likely to decrease in demand in the near future and beyond, in the, say, coming decade or so. In yellow and green, you're looking at skills that are likely to increase in demand in the next decade or so. And so what's interesting to look at, first, some of the skills that are likely to decrease in demand include things like advanced data and mathematical skills. And that might seem kind of counterintuitive, like how could that be less in demand in the future? But the way to read this is really just that the relative efficiency gains in an area like data analysis and mathematical skills is likely to outpace any increase in demand for that set of skills. And so similarly, you have in dark red things like inspecting and monitoring, which maybe seems a little more obvious. Drones could do infrastructure inspections, or a computer vision system could monitor a factory assembly line in a way that a human might have in the past. But also advanced literacy and writing, and then things that AI is already pretty good at today, things like quantitative and statistical skills, basic data input and preprocessing. So there's a whole set of skills that are likely to be less in demand in the future. And so those are things that AI is likely to either provide efficiency gains in or provide some kind of replacement for whatever the human task is. And on the other side, when you look at skills that are likely to increase in demand in the future, you have in the dark green up at the top, basic digital skills increasing something like 20+% in the next 5 to 10 years. And this is, I think, you can think about this as computer use as a basic digital skill, being able to use a computer for work, as well as basic coding skills, data and AI usage in whatever job. So basic digital skills is something that's going to be uniformly increasing in demand almost more than anything else. But right there above it is advanced IT skills and programming. So it means that if you're starting from zero, then taking a step in the direction of basic digital literacy, use of code, use of AI, is a great step for positioning yourself for future work. And if you're already a software engineer, then getting better at software engineering, increasing your proficiency, is a great step towards positioning yourself for where jobs are going. And that might seem, you might have heard people say things like, don't learn to code now because AI is going to do that for you. And I think Andrew, our founder, actually wrote recently in his newsletter that that's going to be remembered as some of the worst advice anyone gave in 2024, because it's just not true, according to whether you're reading reports about this, but also just anyone you talk to in the field right now. Software engineering is something that has been moved along tremendously at the prototyping stage. As I'm sure any of you who've played with these AI tools for software development have seen, you can prototype something really fast, but taking that to production hasn't gotten 10x easier. It's gotten a little easier. There's efficiency gains, but this is something that basic to advanced digital skills, IT and tech programming, is all going to see increase in demand in the future. And then the other thing that pops out here are what you might think of as sort of the innately human skills. Things like communication, interpersonal skills, leadership, managing others, teaching and training others. These are all things that AI is not very good at yet and probably won't be that good at in the near future. But these are things that humans are very good at and that humans are going to be needed for even more in the decade to come and beyond. So I think this sets the stage for an interesting analogy. So basically both advanced and basic cognitive skills, advanced mathematics, literacy, these will see a reduction in demand alongside basic and advanced tech skills as well as innately human skills seeing an increase in demand. So I like this analogy to reading and writing literacy rates over the last couple hundred years. There was a point 200 years ago when most people didn't read and write, and that was just fine because to live your life, to do your job, for most people it didn't require reading and writing. But over the last 200 years, reading and writing has become an expectation of just living in society, of doing pretty much any job. And so we've seen this trend sort of invert in the sense that nowadays almost everybody is expected to read and write as part of a job, as part of life. And the indication from everything that is going on right now in the AI and data and code space is that something similar needs to happen for code, data, and AI literacy. And so Andrew, if you ask him, our founder, would say that we need to follow a similar trajectory with code, data, and AI literacy, but not over the course of 200 years, more like over the course of some decades. And so right now, we're at a stage where, similar to 1800 for reading and writing, we have a very low literacy rate, comparatively speaking, for code, data, and AI. Probably a very high literacy rate in this room, but in general, it's maybe a small single-digit percentage. And this needs to increase in order to meet the demand for the future of work, really. So the opportunity for anyone who's starting from essentially zero, no coding, no data, no AI today, taking steps in that direction, finding basic literacy in these skills is a step in the right direction. But also someone who's already a programmer, many of you, software engineers, taking further steps in developing your proficiencies in software engineering is a good step in the right direction. So whether you're a beginner or more advanced, learning more, not less, code, data, and AI is the right step for positioning yourself for the future of work. And if you can combine that with those innately human skills of creativity, empathy, teaching and learning, then you're really well positioned for the future of work. So what does this have to do with the future of education? Well, I thought I might try a demo of this thing, but then I worried that it might not work. This is something that you can actually see online right now. It's what we're calling AI Andrew, and so it's our founder, Andrew Ng, in avatar form. And you can actually see this at deeplearning.ai/avatar. And the idea here is that if you've taken Andrew's online courses, then you're watching a bunch of videos, a one-size-fits-all experience for everyone who wants to learn whatever it is, machine learning or deep learning. And what Andrew wants this to be is something where you can have Andrew as your personal tutor. So right now you can go online and have a chat. This is a beta. It sometimes says things that Andrew wouldn't say, but it's interesting in the sense that it's right now grounded in Andrew's writings, his publications, his courses, and you can have a conversation that is already kind of like a learning experience or a mentoring experience with this kind of early beta of this product. But we're looking forward to turning this into something much more. What Andrew really would like this to be, and if we're, you can imagine this for any instructor or for maybe even some kind of completely avatar cartoon instructor, but basically a personal tutor who can take you on a learning journey that's customized for you. So what we're doing right now with this is that it's a conversational agent that you can talk to, but you can imagine this becomes a presenter, a lecturer, a coach, someone that can recommend courses. And we're looking forward to all that as our first steps in developing the future of education. Alongside this, we're going to be thinking about having the content that's coming through this thing being generated automatically so that it's something that is customized for you. And so I think for the future of education, what this means, or what's made possible here by generative AI is a highly personalized learning experience. And what that allows for is both personalized learning and personalized assessment. So if you're wanting to know where you're arriving at with certain skills, or you're part of a program where you need to know how much you've achieved, like a work program, then you can get highly nuanced and targeted assessments. And what this means, is that learning new skills becomes more efficient and easier. And you can think of it like an instructor that has infinite time and infinite energy to answer your questions or work through something again with you. You can interrupt and you can say, let's talk about this further. So what to make of all this? The future of work and the future of education. I think if you're thinking about this as an individual, then what you should be thinking about is increasing your proficiency with code, data, and AI, whether that's taking your first steps or further steps in your profession as an engineer. But you should also be working on your innately human skills. So your communication skills, your soft skills, your ability to communicate with others, teach, and lead. If you're thinking about this from the perspective of an organization, so you're leading an organization and you need to think about developing the skills of the entire organization, then giving people the space to learn and making it an expectation in every role is the right step to take. I can say that we're struggling with this internally at deeplearning.ai. Andrew wants everybody to be learning more. Everyone's saying, well, when would I be able to do that? And we're finding ways to make it not only an expectation, but to make room for it. You can pair technical and non-technical people together. And this has a kind of a two-way benefit for someone who is a non-technical team member. To learn from someone who's got these skills already makes it easier and makes it an opportunity that seems more accessible. For the technical person, this allows them to practice their teaching and training skills, their communication skills. And so it's a benefit on both sides if you pair technical and non-technical people together to learn new skills. And aim to get everyone in the org to a basic level of code, data, and AI literacy. So I can say that that's what we're doing internally at deeplearning.ai, in AI Fund, the ecosystem that we're a part of. And that would be the advice that Andrew would give you to aim to achieve a basic level of literacy in code, data, and AI for everyone in the organization. If you're a nation state, thinking about this in terms of the whole economy for your population, then see the individual and organization recommendations above, but also get computer science data and AI training into schools and starting at an early age. And finally, support events like Beltec. So thank you all for your attention. and really appreciate being here.